Hi. So there is this consulting firm who earn their living from responding to bids and executing them, hopefully winning the bids. So there is an RFP that comes out that really looks like right up your street. We can win this one. So they invest hours, preparing. And the night before, they stay up right up into the early mornings, fine tuning it so that they can be ready uh, to win. So they go to the dispatcher and they explain the urgency, the importance of this bid. The dispatcher is in a mode where been there, done that. This is, these self-indulgent consultants keep coming back and um, seemingly thinking that you know everything that they do is so important and so on. So he is not as attentive as he ought to have been. So he pulls the courier together and he provides the courier with the packages that uh, need to go out today. When the bid is being opened, you know, representatives of the consultants are in the room, the box is opened, there is no bid from their organization. What has happened here? What has happened here? Well, what has happened here is that they missed an important bit of information from the consultant. The consultant is saying, I know normally, you know, um, there's a 3 o'clock opening today. This bid is closing, is opening. Well, it's closing at 11. Missed it because these consultants keep emphasizing, you know, how important this is and so on. Oh, been there, done that, heard this all the time. We're going to talk about issues like this, these kinds of failures that impact performance. I'm Trevor E.S. Smith. I'm with the Success with People Academy, and I will be your guide through today's live cast as we unlock the power of team dynamics. So, what is the context? The context is that we're using basically an orchestra. We are saying that finely tuned teams in which each member plays the right notes in harmonious synergy are rare. Yes. So we're going to have a dispatcher could, in the form of a violinist who has played this chord many times. And so that violinist was not attentive to the fact that the conductor wanted to play a little differently. And so that violinist is playing the usual melody while the others are playing something else. And so it is discordant. That's basically a reality in teams, is that somebody somewhere either feels to come in when the conductor says come in, they're not attentive, so they come in late, or maybe they play the wrong note, they miss the beat. And, we know that teams do not function as a harmonious unit, like a world class symphony where everybody is on time, playing the right notes with the right level of enthusiasm. Today, we want to identify root causes. Why is it that somebody has to play the discordant note? Why is it that we can't be this world-class symphony? That's it. So why do people play the wrong notes or miss the beat? Why was the dispatcher not as attentive as he should have been? And so there are a variety of common reasons for these errors, these individual failures that hinder team performance. And some of the most prevalent and impactful failures arise from issues like a breakdown in communication, conflicts, lack of attentiveness. We just looked at one, and misunderstandings. So each failure is like a discordant note in our orchestra, disrupting the harmony that we are trying to produce. And they can be costly, they can be frustrating, they can be demotivating. Just think about those consultants who stayed up night after night trying to get this bid and the impact on their income streams. How frustrated would they be? How demotivated would they be? And what about the cost to the organization? These are important considerations. This is an important life cost. So I would suggest that you pay some attention to what I'm about to share, because I'm not only looking at the root causes, but I'm looking at solutions as well. So if we are going to create this high-performing team, this wonderful orchestra that's, producing beautiful music, we have to take steps, proactive steps. We have to be intentional about preventing these common errors. And one way is to look at communication. I don't have statistics, so I can't tell you what percentage, but I can tell you a significant percentage of errors, like we just discussed with this consulting firm, comes from communication challenges. And if we can provide the right kind of communication training and coaching, then we can equip our band or orchestra with the skills that they need, not only to understand each other, but to be able to be understood. We can avoid some of these careless errors that are solely as a result of ineffective communication. So let me go deeper, because we use the discerning model of communication, where it's built on the DISC framework, and it looks at behaviors, right, to help to have the team function more effectively, provide the team leaders with the skills to communicate on the basis of behavioral preferences. Let us give you an example. Let's go right back to that same opening statement. So if that team, the consultants, for example, had invested time in understanding the behavioral state, what is happening with the dispatcher, that maybe the dispatcher is at a point where, like many individuals, the Gallup polls indicate that 2/3 of employees are not engaged. So if the consultants had taken time to understand where the dispatcher was, maybe they could double down on saying to them, listen, I know the norm is for a 3:00 closure of the bid. Today it's 11. They could even go further, because he was saying, oh, every time, you always have some important thing, but at the end of the day, it's just the same old. No, today it's not the same old. As a matter of fact, I want you to sign this document saying that you are aware that this is at 11 a.m. closure and not at 3. And I want you to have the courier also sign this document to say that I am aware that the bid closes at 11. Fine, maybe take it a little further, but I'm just saying that if we understand what's happening behaviorally, we can make a huge difference in terms of curbing some of the common errors that we have. All right. So conflicts, yeah, we're going to have conflicts. We're going to have disagreements. It could be a disagreement simply over who gets the printer now. Because we both have, urgent things to get out and all of those things. People quarrel over things like that. It could be feedback that was not appropriately given. Those are inevitable. The key, though, is that we need to equip people to move past those conflicts so they don't escalate and they do not then negatively impact farmers. And I'm suggesting, in my, I'm doing this stuff for a couple of decades now. I'm suggesting that how we communicate things like instructions, how we communicate feedback, how we receive those things makes a huge difference. A lot of conflict are directly related to how instructions are given and received, how feedback is given and received. So, word of advice. So, one of the things that we're going to do, if we're going to have this world-class orchestra where everybody is on time, playing the right notes, the rhythm is wonderful. If we're going to do that, then commitment and accountability are important. One key that I'd like to share with you is that as you strive to create this culture of commitment and accountability, do not underestimate this engagement factor that I just spoke about, where 2/3 of those that are surveyed are not engaged at work. Right? So if we're looking for commitment, we have to start with engagement. And engagement actually has to do with creating an environment in which people can thrive, where I feel as if I can be myself, I can grow in this environment. And so we need to understand people at a deeper level if we're going to create the kind of environment where commitment and accountability are able to function in the way that we want them to function. Yes. All right. So, what else then? How do we avoid these individual failures, these errors, these mistakes, these wrong notes? Clear task assignments, clearly. If the rules are well defined and the responsibilities are clear and the deadlines are clear and they have good documentation and we have guidelines for processes, things should work well, And so we need to actually have that done and even open up, dialogue so that people can come back and to say, hey, I'm not so clear about this. This guideline is not so helpful. So that's important. That's the kind of enabling environment that you want to create. And of course, you need to support it. The leaders need to support the development, the execution, the implementation of policies and procedures. Here's a key, though. It is important that we strive to put people into roles that give them the best chance to thrive. put people into roles that give them the best chance to thrive. The example I use, maybe Hackney, is that you do not want to have someone who has a preference for using their right hand to do a job that requires them to use their left hand all the time. So if we look, for example, at the map, one of the team maps that we have in the extended disk portfolio, on the right side would be this faster decision making, change management, etc. On the left side, we see more systems, more maintenance of structure, and so on. So if someone has a preference for making decisions that is based on as much information as possible, evidence-based, and you place that individual in a role where they have to make decisions and little bit more than a feeling in their gut. They just have to use their judgment. There's no evidence. There's no calling up on research or precedents. That's going to be challenging. So maybe the person can do it, but they're going to be stressed and eventually they're going to be burnt out. So what we're saying is that it is important to identify the preferences granularly. What is it that makes this individual tick? Would this individual be able to function most effectively? And if you could align individuals with their preferred roles, you're going to have more harmony. They're not going to be stressed and they're going to perform better. So there's a thought. Again, that's the role of behavioral assessments in helping the team perform at its best. We're not saying that individuals can't do things that are outside of their preference, their comfort zone. Of course, we want to give people stress assignments. We want to stretch them. We want to have them experience and develop by doing things that are not necessarily within their comfort zone. However, it is important that we still give them a good opportunity to thrive by using their strengths. Yes. And the only way to know this is by doing objective assessments of the individual. So we know exactly what it is that they're comfortable with, what it is that requires more energy. All right. So the other thing, of course, in terms of making sure that we avoid tragic errors like happen with the consulting firm and their dispatcher, is regular check-ins and feedback. Just generally, as we do work, we need to find out what's happening. So these check-ins allow team members, to raise concern and seek clarification. And so that will help for the orchestra to function more effectively. And so feedback, yes. You would get better results if you did ABC. Some of what you are doing, XYZ, are limiting factors. They are impacting negatively your performance. So those are some of the things that would happen to make the team function more effectively. However, it is critical that those check-ins and the feedback that you give is given appropriately, that is given in a way that is aligned with the behavioral preferences of the individual. It might not land well otherwise. I can promise you that feedback that is inappropriately given is the cause of a lot of conflict in teams. And I'm not talking about no transient conflicts. I'm talking about hardcore conflicts and disengagement where people just don't appreciate how they have been spoken to. They don't appreciate how they were being corrected. They misunderstand developmental feedback as criticism. All of these factors lead to the creation of frustration, animosity, and has a negative impact on harmony in the team. So we need to be careful to understand behaviors. As you can see in the presentation so far, how we relate and interact and communicate has a lot to do with whether we can actually produce harmony as a group. Yeah. Understanding behavioral styles, behavioral differences, critical. So that's where behavioral assessments come in. And what the behavioral assessments do basically is to help us to understand ourselves first and then to understand others. And with that information, we can, in fact, set about communicating more effectively. We can work more effectively together. That's important, that we get some assessments, and the assessments are granular. It tells you a lot about individuals. We have hundreds of behavioral competencies in the extended DISC competency library. So we can go line by line to understand individuals. Yeah, here we go, for example. So this is just one competence, achieving results through and with people. That's one competence in the extended DISC competency library. And you could actually see then the team. And if we look at this team, we could see that Sincere Jones is not as comfortable doing this as Cutie might be. Right? So the further to the left is the more energy it requires for the individual to demonstrate the competence, and the further to the right, the more naturally it comes to them. So we're not saying you can't do it, but it's just that it requires more energy. So Sincere Jones would have an issue if this is all that she had to do day by day. She would have to learn, and it's going to require more energy on her part. So that's the idea behind it. The point is that by doing these behavioral assessments and pulling out the competencies that are relevant to the particular situation, we can see how individuals in the team respond to those competencies, and we are able then to use that information to create an environment in which each individual feels comfortable and can thrive. That's the essence of it. It's not just really to do an assessment and, HR says, okay, hire this person. What this is about, this is actually live in the team today. How do we use this information to make the team produce sweet music? All right? So the team maps are there. If we look at these maps, these are shotgun maps from the extended DISC diamond, extended DISC library. So this is this white area is a diamond, and each spot on the diamond gives you a unique understanding of the individual. And so when we look at this team, for example, we could see two different team maps. This one is more heterogeneous, and this one, as you can see, is very, very specific in a particular area. This team would struggle in an environment where there's a lot of change and a need for innovation and creativity. So those are things that you can look at the map, you could see immediately what is it. As a matter of fact, when I have my work with teams, when I put up the maps like this, you don't want to put up the names yet. So you put up the shotgun. So the dots are there, and you say, okay, fine. What do you see? If you understand the DISC framework, where, on the right side, you're going to have your change and your innovation and creativity. Over on the left, you have more system, structure, accountability, following routines. Those are some of the things that you can actually see, that whether the team is a good fit for its environment, is it aligned to what is required of them. So that's the value of team maps and behavioral assessments that underpin the team maps. This is a more detailed map. These arrows actually extended. This deals with two aspects of the individual: their natural style and their perceived need to adjust. So the back of the arrow is in person's natural style, and the tip of the arrow is their perceived need to adjust. So this individual is naturally has a preference for C style, but there's something in the environment that says they would get better results using more D. So that's it. So we can actually learn a lot from the team when we see the direction of the arrows, see where people are. And this is powerful stuff. This is not information that you can get from any other source, right? It just tells you what's happening in the team, who is in a particular role. For example, this individual, it's a stretch. They're moving from C, and the perception is that they need to function more, use more I style behavior. The length of those arrows also is indicative of the degree of change that the person sees, from their natural style to the perceived need to adjust, the degree of change that's required. Right? So that also tells you a story. Important stuff. We need to have a conversation. Honestly, just talk to me. Even if we're, you don't want to do something, because this kind of information is important. You can't get it from anywhere else. And so I have sought to provide you with a deeper understanding of the benefits and the practical application of behavioral assessments and team maps. We have gone through some of that error prevention, where someone is going to play the wrong note. Some dispatcher is not going to listen attentively enough, and so you miss the opportunity to earn from a tender that you thought you would have won. That's happening on a daily basis in teams. And a lot of that can be prevented if we spend the time to understand each other at a deeper level, and if we dealt with the whole issue of miscommunication, misunderstandings, how we give instructions, how we give feedback, how we receive instructions, how we receive feedback, and how the whole issue of the dynamics within the team. All of these factors impact performance. And we're saying that these things can be addressed using systems. Let's have a conversation. So, what are your next steps? I'm suggesting that you review the process that we have just gone through as to how behavioral assessments and team dynamics, diagnostics can make a difference to your dynamics, your performance, your ability to produce world-class symphony, and then I'm happy. I would love to do a pilot with one of your teams. We can at least discuss it. Also, I'm offering today, I don't know if you have got a copy, but we have got very good response with respect to the content in How Discerning Communication Drives Teamwork. It's a publication. I make it available to you. No cost. Send me an email at info@successwithpeople.org. So that's How Discerning Communication Drives Teamwork. And you can actually get a copy. Or if you want to be more direct, you can send me a WhatsApp message at 876-535-6677. All right. Just want to let you know that these live casts are also available in our YouTube channel. So it's YouTube at Extended Disk Solutions, at Extended Disk Solutions. And there's a series of these live casts available there that will add value to what you do. So who are we? We are the Success with People Academy. We are part of the InfoServe group of companies. We are SHRM recertification providers, which essentially means that when we provide you with any kind of professional development credit, you can use them to recertify for your SHRM CP or SCP. What that really means is that we function and operate at internationally recognized standards. And so we deploy our discerning model of communication and leadership. That is how the consultants would know that they need to double down on the dispatcher to avoid losing this major contract. And we also have our REAL leadership framework that we use to guide organizations, individuals, and teams to greater levels of performance. Yeah. And of course, yes, we are guided by granular behavioral DNA assessments from Extended Disk on the Revolutionary Things platform. This is a technology platform that allows you don't have to print, you don't have to use the PDF. You can actually go in and match any individual against all of the competencies that we have. So someone could do a behavioral assessment today in a customer service role, for example. And now there's a sales opportunity and you want to know whether Trevor could be a good fit there. You could actually go into the Things platform and look at the individual against every single competency. Same thing, if you're recruiting, you could actually see how the candidates match up against different competencies and not just the competencies that are sent out in the report. Big revolution. Let's have a conversation. Even about that, let me show you what the Things platform looks like. No cost, just send us an email at info@Success with People Academy, and we will show you, demonstrate what Things platform is and how that can transform behavioral assessments and add value. And if you say, no, I'm not interested, fine. Let's talk. All right. See you next week.